This is probably the most craziest podcast I've done. But here goes. Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the Sweet Lavender Knits podcast. My name is Christine and I'm coming to you from just outside of Toronto, Ontario in Canada. Today is July the 7th, 2019 and it's a Sunday night. I have my indoor lights on really bright in my family room and they're daylight lights, so it is pretty bright and hopefully you won't mind the lighting so much, nor the way I look. I've just had my shower for the evening and my hair is soaking wet, but if I didn't do this right now, I don't know when I can do a podcast for a while. So let's just roll with it, and I will try to ignore the way I look so much, just get on with it. Yes, so thank you very much for joining me today. If you are new, welcome, and those that are returning, welcome back. Thank you for being there, coming back after a very long time. It's been a very long time since I've podcasted, and I am very happy to be sitting here. I wish I could have done this sooner. I really, really do. It just didn't happen, so here I am on a Sunday night. Tomorrow I have to head into work, but right now I kind of have a few minutes, and I thought I would do a very short episode, if nothing else, just to catch up with you guys, because I know a few of you have been sending me some really nice messages, concerned about if what's happening, and that I've been quiet and stuff. So yes, thank you very much for those messages and all your comments on the previous podcast. I really appreciate it. And if you are new, you can find me on Instagram as sweet_lavender1 and on Ravelry as sweetlavender1. Although I have been quiet on Ravelry for a while now, and it's just because I've been so busy. We also have a very lovely group there, Sweet Lavender Knits group, where there has been a lot of chatter. I'm hoping, like I said, I have not been on Ravelry recently just because I've been so busy, but we do have some knit-alongs going on, and all of that we will get into shortly. And welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you are returning. I'm very happy to have you here and to be able to sit down and chat with you a while. This is my knit night for those who are new. This is my knit night. I don't have a local knit night to go to, so I've invited you to mine. So why don't you grab your needles, your favorite project, something nice to drink, and let's get started. So welcome again to episode 32. It's been a very long time. It feels awkward almost to be sitting in front of the camera, and as you can see, it's a different location. I am in my family room on the couch, and it's kind of a boring wall at the back right where you can see it, but yes, I just wanted some bright lighting for you, and it may not be the most flattering for me, but it was more about just connecting with all of you and just updating you a little bit on what's been happening, yeah, so that's what it is. But just before we get into, I don't have a lot of knitting contact, honestly. The truth is that I didn't have much of a knitting mojo over the last month and a half. I think it was slowly weaning off, and then it was gone. It was completely gone. I've had a couple of weeks where I've not touched anything, not even my sock on the train, the sock knitting, and then I picked it up recently again, and so I do not have a pair of socks finished for June. So this podcast is going to be all over the place. Just bear with me. If you are new, maybe you want to go check out one of the older episodes for a more traditional format of a podcast that I usually do, but this one is sort of all over the place. I don't have show notes. I don't have anything in front of me, so I'm just going to chat for a bit and show you some projects as I chat. So let's start off with the knit along. So we have a knit along that started on April the 1st and went all the way to June the 30th. However, if you have been by recently, you've probably noticed that I have not closed off the threads, both the monthly prizes as well as the knit-a-thon prize, which was the prize, the finished objects prize at the end of the 3 months, June 30th. So it's still open, and I'm just gonna leave the knit-a-thon open for a bit longer. It's probably gonna go into August, and I will tell you why in just a bit. First of all, it's because I have not been up to date with things, and I'm trying to come back into all of it and just catch up a little bit, catch my breath a little bit, as far as the knitting front, and you know, the knitting, my own knitting projects, as well as our knit group. So just hang in there. If you are still working on some projects, feel free to drop those in, continue your chatter. There is only the one chatter thread as far as I remember, and I will not be opening a monthly prize for July, but I will keep the knit-a-thon open. And so if you've had finished objects by the end of June 30th in the monthly thread, and you have more for July, just go in and drop it in the FO thread, and I'll decide maybe at the end of it, and I'm gonna do all the prizes all at once, because I just didn't get a chance to, you know, I didn't get a chance to go into Ravelry to draw for prizes. I'm so sorry, but like I said, if I didn't sit down right now to do this podcast on the fly, I've been just so busy. And unfortunately, I'm sitting up awake. It's around 9:15 right now. I'm just checking the time over on the clock, and it's a little close to my bedtime before I head into, you know, usually on a Sunday night I try to go to bed early because I don't sleep very well, and it just takes me a little longer on the day before I have to head back into work. I don't know what it is, but it's just one of those things. And so I try to like you know, wind down as early as possible on a Sunday evening. But the reason I'm sitting up right now is because my husband's had to take my little one into the emergency, not for anything too serious, but because he was complaining of a ear ache, and he's prone to ear infections. So it might be another ear infection. Hopefully that's what it is, and we are planning a vacation in a couple of weeks, so hopefully it'll be all sorted out before then. I know it's so cruel to say that, but I would like him to be able to enjoy the vacation as well as everyone else, and you know, there's not much we can do in changing our reservations or anything at this point. So hopefully he feels better before then. So yes, they've gone into emergency, and it'll probably be like an outpatient thing. And when he calls, I would have to go pick him up. So that's the reason I'm staying awake. And I thought, what better way to spend the time? I was going to sit down and have a knit, but you know, it does seem like a better idea. So here I am. So yes, so I've told you about the cowl, and so for that reason I would just leave it open. And like I said, I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks at the last week of this month, and then the following week of the first week of August, and so it'll probably be back in the middle of August, or maybe the second week if I'm able to squeeze in a podcast before I head back to work. I might just do that. So we'll see how it goes. I hope you guys are okay with just, you know, flying by the seat of your pants kind of thing with this knit along and my podcasts and everything else. I hope all of you have been having a wonderful summer so far. Those in the northern hemisphere and those in the south. I think you're right into winter right now, and it's sort of cold from what I've heard. So hopefully it's not treating you too bad, and you are enjoying the season wherever it is. Here in Toronto, and I'm just east out of Toronto, we've had a few, actually more than a couple, but a few really, really hot days. And today it started to cool down just a little bit, which I am so thankful for, because yes, I love it being warm and not extremely cold, but at the same time, I just don't do well with very hot temperatures as well. My feet start to swell up, and it's kind of gross, but it swells up really a lot, and it's painful to walk on. So by the end of the days, when I head home, like, I'm just exhausted because I feel like I'm just totally bloated, and it's hot. I try to hydrate myself as much as possible, but I think some of it is water retention too, so it doesn't help. This podcast might seem all about my medical problems and me and my families. I'm so sorry about that, but yeah, it's not been pleasant, and the last thing I want to do is pick up some wool and knit, and it's very unlike me because I do enjoy knitting. It's just not been, it's not been there. I don't know why. But yeah, it's slowly starting to come back. I've started picking up the needles over the last week and knitting some stuff. So not a lot, like, for those of you who have been watching, you know that I'm a very slow knitter. So it takes me a while to finish a project. But thankfully, since the last time I've podcasted, there is a finished object. So let's go right into it. And it is a pair of socks, and these are my Rose City rollers, and it is a free pattern on Ravelry, and it is a really, really fun pattern. Easy if you're a beginner. It doesn't even have a cuff. It's so easy. And I use some lovely yarn by by Herbstblatt Regina, called Antoinette. And the pattern is called Rose City Rollers by Mara Catherine Briner. So yes, I highly recommend you to try these socks if you are new to sock knitting. It teaches you the very basics of doing a little bit of a leg without the cuff, obviously, and then the heel flap, heel turn, and gusset. And it's a vanilla sock, so all you have to do is keep knitting, knitting, knitting till you get to your toe, and then you start toe decreases. Very, very simple sock. And yeah, it was a lot of fun knitting it. It's not showing very well on the camera right now with this lighting, but hopefully I'll be able to put up some pictures of the finished object on Ravelry if I haven't done so already. I can't remember, but there it is. So a finished object. And however did I manage that, I don't know, because those socks took me forever. They're short socks, but because they were just vanilla, and I'm not a fan of vanilla socks, it just took me forever. On top of that, there was the heel flap, heel turn, and gusset. Not a fan of that either. I just find it doesn't fit me as well, and therefore the sock took me forever and forever. I don't know, it just took me a very long time. Short socks, I should have been done sooner, but I was done. I think I was done in the beginning of June. So then I cast on for another pair of socks, and I thought, oh, I'm in the middle of June, it's the summer. Maybe instead of using wool, I would use one of the more summer yarns, like a plant-based. And I have this cake of bamboo yarn. Oh, the shine on it. Okay, there you can see. It's just a very pale, almost off-white cream, sort of, I don't know what you call it, mushroom color, maybe a little bit of that. This yarn that I've had for a very long time, and I had caked it up a long time ago actually, and I know that usually you shouldn't leave the cakes, yarn in cakes. I don't know why. Maybe one of you can tell me why. But I just never undid it from the cake because the cake came out so well, and I've always had problems caking up my yarn. So yeah, and then I thought I would just use that. So the yarn is by Bellatrix. Bellatrix, it's 100 grams, it's vegan yarn. That's the label. And it is rayon from bamboo, 410 meters or 448 yards. And the color is called Wolf Girl. So it says hand wash cold, lay flat to dry. And it is hand dyed in British Columbia. So it's a Canadian yarn. I'm very happy to use it. So I cast on for a cuff, just, you know, without a plan in mind, just, you know, cast on for a cuff. And I wasn't feeling it at all. I really wasn't feeling it, because in my mind I wanted to do something else with this yarn. I wanted to make a marketplace bag, and I've had the pattern for a very long time, and I thought of this yarn, and that's why I went searching for the pattern. So I had the yarn and the pattern, but I wasn't feeling like knitting the bag at this point. So I thought I would use the yarn for socks and do like shorty socks or something. And then, yeah, I just really wasn't feeling it, and I totally lost my mojo. I don't know if it was because of the yarn, I mean, because of the sock knitting without a pattern and all of that, or that I just did lose my mojo. In any case, I just put it away. And about 3 weeks later, I felt really, really bad, because now it was close to July and I hadn't done anything. And I really wanted to do some knitting. Like I keep thinking about the knitting, but I just never could get around to it. So about a week ago, I just picked it up again. I found this lovely pattern on Ravelry. I've had it for a while. I can't remember what it's called right now. I will put it up on the screen. I'm so sorry, but like I said, I didn't write anything down, so I can't remember it. But it's got a lovely lace pattern, so I did start off knitting it. It has a very short cuff and then a lovely lace pattern, and I've now done the heel flap, heel turn. I'm onto the heel turn, and I'm just about to start the gusset. So I should be happy, I should be excited, but I'm not. I'm not at all excited about it. All because this yarn in my mind was intended for something else. And I don't want to do the heel flap, heel turn, and gusset, and here I am doing it again. So I don't want a repeat of the Rose City rollers, and I don't want it taking me forever. This is 1 week worth of train knitting, which isn't a lot, but it's really because it's just I was going really slow with it. There was a chart that I had to follow, which all looks nice, and you know what, I like the look of it, I really do, but I don't think this is the yarn for it. So I'm gonna ask you guys, what would you do? Would you keep at it and just get it done? But I'm really not feeling it. What I would like to do is just, you know, put this away and knit the same pattern with another yarn. And I really want to do that, but I didn't want to do it today because I wanted to show you something that I had done over the last week, because otherwise I don't have anything else to show you, really. So yes, this is my predicament, is that in my mind I had set out for something else for this yarn, and now I'm doing something else with it and I don't feel it. And yeah, it's a horrible thing, you know, in indecisiveness over a pattern or a yarn. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's just, I don't know. It drives me crazy, at least. So, yes, that is it. And okay, so let me show you. It's housed in my favorite project bag so far. Like I use this bag all the time because it's just the perfect size. It's by Eva Faith, and it's got these hexes, flower motif, and I love it. I love this bag. It's so small and it can just plop right onto the top of my tote that I take to work with my lunch underneath. So it's perfect, and I love it. But sadly, yes, that's my knitting story right now. It's not happening. It's been a pretty sad one. Oh well. But right now I was just gonna sit down and knit my Cane Pullover, and this is one that I've shown you in the past. And I believe the last time I showed you, where was I? Here, where this marker is. And I've managed to do just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. But I love it. Can you see the pattern on it? It's really nice. And it's an easy knit, but it has a chart, and I have to watch the chart. I have to sit there and watch the chart. I mean, not watch the chart. I have to sit there and read the chart very closely for every line. It's not something that I can recognize, memorize and just do it in my head. So again, that takes me a little time, that I need to, like a quiet space to do that. So right now it's perfect because it's just me downstairs, and I can get some of maybe a few rows done before I have to head in to go pick them up. So there I am. But I love how it's turning out. And this is a lovely progress keeper that was there. It's a lovely progress keeper of a little owl that was given to me by one of my Instagram friends, Carla from Scotland. And I love it because every time I see that, it just reminds me of a little swap that we did and how fun that was and how exciting it was to receive her package. So yeah, little things that can make me smile. So that is what I'm working on right now, and I have I'm hoping that all my mojo will pick up and I will have more to share with you. What else can I say? I look forward to hearing all of what you've been doing and what you've been knitting on. And this is a knit night, so the best part about the knit night is me being able to interact with you through your comments and just reading all of your posts on Ravelry, in the Ravelry groups. Thank you for your lovely comments on the last podcast. A few of you had mentioned how you were struggling with managing your time or just finding time for knitting or any of the other crafts. And one of you had mentioned how suggested I watch a podcast by Sweet Georgia Yarns, and in which she talks about seasons and how your crafts or your projects will change with season, and that's okay. And it was really nice to listen to that, because that is exactly what's happening, is that I find myself wanting to do other things than knitting. Unfortunately, I'm wanting to, but I'm not getting anything done. Like I said, it's because I'm so tired at the end of the day. When I come home, I want to be able to spend time in the garden. I want to be able to sew, and a simple thing like I put a reminder on my phone to just cut strips for a quilt that I plan to do. Just a small quilt, like a starter quilt basically, but I've had this lovely Tilda fabric for a while and I wanted to do a quilt out of it. So I thought, okay, I'll just break it down into steps so that it'll be easier for me to get it done. And so I put a reminder on my phone saying cut quilt strips. And you know how many times I've it's, I don't know what the word is, but sort of like a snooze on the reminder for the next week, the next day, or something like that, like it just, you know, moving the reminder forward, because a simple thing like that, like I just don't have the energy at the end of the day. My legs are swollen and I'm tired, and I don't want to be standing. I don't want to be out in the garden, even though I would like to. It's just I can't physically do any work, and yes, it's just been unpleasant. But I should be thankful because it's not freezing cold. But I don't know. It's just I'm really finding it. I know I sound very grumpy and you know, just like I'm complaining the whole way through, and I don't mean that at all. It's just that it's just been hard, and I'm hoping that things will get better health-wise, and you know, maybe I just need to like get some rest or something, and you know, lift my mood up a little bit, just because I'm battling with the fact that I don't have time to do things. So it kind of puts me into you know, a little bit of a, it's like walking around with a storm cloud over your head, and you know, just beating yourself up for not being able to do the things that you like to do. And I'm just sort of getting like essentials done. Anyways, that's a lot of rambling. I'm sorry about that. But yes, I hope things change. But you know what? I thought for this time, maybe it'll be a little fun if we can share on our, we have for those of you, if you're new, we have a thread in our Ravelry group, and it's called the Let's Chat thread, where you can talk about anything, about the projects you're knitting or working on, crocheting. I say knitting, but it can be any craft, just anything. And I thought it'll be nice to have a conversation there about some of the podcasts that you enjoy watching, and I can share with you the ones that I do. And I am always open to finding new podcasts, and you know, supporting them, and just getting them started on this journey, because I know how it feels to start off. It's very daunting, and especially it's such a niche, you know, this community, that you're not gonna get the usual traffic, and to be even found by other knitters or other crocheters, it's a little difficult on YouTube, with all of the different algorithms, as well as on Instagram. So it's really hard to get out there, and I say that for those of us who are, I mean, for those of those podcasters who are in it for the sheer joy of just being part of the community. I know there are lots of podcasters out there, and you know, who already have a fan base when they start off, so they hit it off, and right away they're able to like get a lot of subscribers, and the more likes and comments and subscribers you have, the more visual you become on YouTube, your videos seen out by others and everything like that. So it's for the more quieter or the more introverted podcasters like myself. It's a little daunting to go out there and first of all speak to a camera, speak to people who you don't know, and you know, you never know what kind of comments you're gonna get. Thankfully, everyone's been really nice with their comments to me and have welcomed me so well, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So yes, all of that to say that there are smaller podcasters who really could use the support, and I am willing all the time to listen. I'm actually more drawn to them because I feel like they have something to share, that, and because they're not so common, they're not so um, popular yet, that they're a little more, how do I say this? It's like there isn't a lot of things you would hear on their podcast that you hear elsewhere. So they're unique. Okay, that's the word. They're unique. And I like that. So I've been looking out, and just last night I found a podcast, and she's pretty popular. I have to say, I didn't even catch her name. I think it's Rachel. It is the So Raimi podcast. That is the newest one I found. She talks about just her handmade life, which was very, very appealing to me because I watched the very first episode, and she had a little bit of candle making right at the end. And just her ease of talking is very natural and very sort of very down to earth and honest, and it was nice like that. There are some very popular podcasters out there who I am aware of, but not necessarily following very often. And I won't name them, but it's just there are quite a few out there. But some of the ones that I do enjoy, who are very, very popular, is Amy of the Stranded podcast. Luli, I like hers as well. I like my friend Ellie from Craft House Magic. I like her. And just her, just the way she speaks, and just the ease of listening to these podcasts. I enjoy that. I also like the podcast, the We So and So. I love Kaz's podcast, and so those are a few of mine. I can name more if you would like me to, but I really, really enjoyed it. My very, very first podcast, the whole how I found this world of knitting podcasts, is the fact that I was looking for a technique on YouTube. I can't even remember what the technique was. It was something I was looking for on YouTube, and I usually go to what's her name, Very Pink Knits, and find my techniques. She's very thorough with the way she explains things. Very short videos, and I like that. So I usually watch hers, and somehow it just came across that I found this technique, but it was like 20 minutes long for a video. So I was like, okay, it's probably explained in detail. And I watched this, and it was the very first knitting podcast I'd watched on YouTube, and it was by Stitched in Sweden, Maria of Stitched in Sweden, and I love her podcast. Sadly, she hasn't been podcasting in recent times, but she's been busy, I'm sure, and I can totally understand that. And then from her, I found this other podcast that was absolutely a delight to watch. I binged watched her episodes. I came in, I think it was at episode 30 something, but I went all the way back, and I binge watched it over a week, all her episodes. And that was Little Bobbins. It was Danny of Little Bobbins, and I loved her podcast. Like I thought that was the best podcast ever, just because she's such a sweet person, and she's so soft, and just the way her aesthetics, her color choices, I love it all, and it's very English, and I just love all of it. And her mom, like, I've always watched her episodes, and I love it. So those are the two that I watched. And then I came across the Knitting Expat and her 2 at a time socks, and that's how I found her. And at the time when I was introduced to not introduced, but when I came across the knitting X-Pack, it was in January of the one year, I can't remember, maybe 2017, where she was knitting as many pairs of socks as she can in that month. So she was having a knit off with another podcaster, and I think it was Marsha Ibuki, and I forget what her podcast is now called, but yeah. So that's how I came across Knitting X-Pack. So I watched her episodes too, and she had many episodes at that point. So I went back and I watched some of them, and yes, I find that the podcasters who are very, very popular are rightly so in a position to influence the community as well, and they do so with designs, they do so with topics, like whatever's the current topic and all of that, and all of which is very good, because we all are drawn to influences of different kinds, and I applaud them for the content that they create and put out there. But I find that somehow a little bit of their personality is maybe lost in it, just because they have so much of an audience to speak out to, and different people do it different ways, right? So like I said, I really do prefer, but not exclusively, just I do enjoy those little gems, the hidden gems out on YouTube. So if you know of any like that, do let me know, because I really do enjoy watching those podcasts. That being said, I would really like to hear the podcasters that you watch, and how you came across them. Maybe you can share that with me. So thanks again for watching. I hope you have a lovely week ahead of you, and I apologize for this haphazard just all over the place kind of a podcast that I'm putting out, but this is the only time I would have been able to sit down and chat with you, and I have missed you. I have missed all of you, just the interaction and being able to bring you some knitting content. Unfortunately, I have not delivered again, but yes, I hope you will bear with me for just a little longer while I get my knitting mojo sorted out, and I will be back soon. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you get some knitting done. I hope you enjoy the week ahead, and for those of you who haven't done so, go ahead, subscribe. If you maybe not, this episode is not what you're in for, but if you would like to support in the night, then come on in and join in, and feel free to introduce yourself in our welcome thread on Ravelry, and join in with our knit night. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy knitting. Bye bye.